Hello everyone. We are Group 4. I am Balenci, the other one is Joy. Today we want to talk about the environmental project protection. This is our title, Change the World from You and Me. How can students protect the environment? Don't doubt it. Although we are still students, we can do more things than thinking. For example, do you know if we turn off and unplug electronic devices we are not using, an individual person can save how many pounds of carbon dioxide a year? And can we not need to tolerate a high temperature of Earth? Carbon dioxide emits CO2. The following presentation we will call carbon dioxide as CO2. And if we use green tableware rather than disposable tableware, like synthetic cups, what will be changing in the world? Have you ever think about the above questions? Now please take those questions in your minds and pay attention on our presentation. The following we will tell you how to change the world just start from you and me. This is our outline. First, we will introduce the environmental situation in Taiwan. We think before changing the living behavior to solve the environmental problems, we should realize what happened to the island we live. Second, disasters. We'd like to review our lifestyle and be concerned about the disasters this behavior caused. Last, we list some methods to gain the mutual benefits for human and the environment. Okay, now we enter the first part. The environmental situations in Taiwan. First is rapid industrialization. Rapid industrialization in Taiwan has taken its toll. Once a beautiful tropic island with magnificent scenery, Taiwan is slowly turning into an industrial wasteland. Air pollution and soil pollution from industrial emissions. Drinking water supplies, high levels of CO2 emissions are just a few of Taiwan's environmental problems. Next is CO2 emissions. In the past 50 years, the CO2 emissions of Taiwan developed to 134%, and the emissions of each person per year is over 120,000 tons, 3 times more than the average. Is the number 1 in the world. Next is acid rain. We know when CO2 combined with rain, it will produce acid. Now, because of a large number of CO2 emissions, the acidity of rain becomes more and more high. We call it as acid rain. In the following statistic about the year average acidity of rain in Keelung, we can observe the pH figures are lower and lower. In 2008, the figure is 4.2. It means the acidity of rain is higher and higher. Generally, when we ride motorcycles or drive cars, of course we really enjoy the feeling of riding on the wind and not need to stand in the crowded buses. But in fact, we have generated a number of CO2 and become the environmental destroyer. Identically, when we turn on the electronic devices like the air conditioners and the computers that we usually run all day without the limitation, we have been the culprit of environment. Next, we find a video clip about eating meat. Eating meat is a common diet preference in modern life. Is anyone a vegetarian? Okay, thank you. I think most of us are the omnivores. Now, you may ask what the relevance between the environmental problems and eating meat. Surely it's relevant. Let's watch the film.
The environment is a finely woven mantle, which is beginning to unravel before our eyes, and meat eating carries much of the blame. We have no physical need to eat meat, yet the world now contains 3 times as many farm animals as humans. Livestock have huge appetites for grass and corn and wheat, so much so that nearly 80% of all agricultured land in Britain is used to support them. It takes as much as 10 kilograms of vegetable protein to produce 1 kilogram of meat, the most wasteful recycling program ever devised. So demanding are they that the soil is pushed beyond its capacity to cope, force-fed on a diet of pesticides and fertilizers. Pesticides are poisons used to kill seeds, insects and fungi. They can and do kill humans. We know that they destroy species other than those that they are aimed at and can upset the natural balance of ecosystems. We know that they increase in concentration as bigger creatures eat smaller creatures. The water bird, like the grebe, constant demands on the land to produce more crops to feed more animals are unsustainable. These hyped up production levels can be achieved only temporarily by swamping the soil with expensive nitrogen-based fertilizers. Some nitrogen runs into rivers, spurring the growth of algae, boosting the growth of bacteria and choking all life from the water. Some floods down into underground reservoirs, and yet if we stop eating animals, the whole population could be fed from just 30% of the land with no need for chemical fertilizers. Huge reservoirs of stored carbon dioxide are unlocked, released to float upwards and provide yet more insulation to prevent heat escaping from the earth. When the cattle arrive, each one belches out 60 litres of methane every day, adding another twist to the spiral. Together, burning and belching provide the second largest contribution to the greenhouse effect.
After watching the film, we can know meat is a kind of high pollution and amount of resources and water consumed. Livestock industry consumes half of grain in the global world, and in the other hand, because animals will excrete super greenhouse gases like methane, the greenhouse gases of livestock industry occupy 20% in the total greenhouse gases emissions. It's higher than the communication transportation. So, although eating meat seems to be a trivial thing, it may be an important cause of environmental problems. Next, Jory will introduce the disasters the above behaviors caused.